Hi guys. So there is a lot that we want to do. We want to study. We want to manage our work and study together. We want to manage our college and studying together. We want to do multiple things at the same time. We want to balance our social life. We want to take time out for reading. We want to be updated, in terms of news, politically, economically, economic news and all. So I know there is a lot that we want to do, and it is, I would say, needed. We need to be able to manage to do multiple things, not multitask, but multiple things. You cannot do multiple things at the same time. So multitasking is something else I'll cover probably later. But what I've understood is that we want to do a lot of things, and at times it kind of pulls us down in terms of our energy and all. So it becomes very difficult to manage. I get this question very often in terms of how I manage my time, or how do I make sure that I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And to be honest, I always feel that I'm just not doing enough. I'm just not managing things very well. And henceforth, I read a lot of articles, blogs, books on productivity, on improvement. I haven't read fiction for the last few years. There's this friend of mine who writes fiction, and and he's very annoyed with me because I'm not reading his work. But I'm just not reading fiction for the last few years, and I'm continuously reading on productivity and life hacks and everything. I came across this really nice book, Happiness Express. I'm going to give you guys a summary on that. It's a very needed book. You may not want to read the whole of it if you want to. If you wish, I mean, it's a good book. If you do not want to read the whole of it, at least I'll give you the gist of it so that you can start applying. Anyways, the reason why I wanted to reach out to you at this point of time was that, when we are trying to manage the multiple things, studying, office, books, reading, being updated and everything. So I was going through another piece of very interesting article, and I was I was able to relate to it very, very well. It seems very relevant. I went through quite a few articles around this. So it's about your management of energy. So basically, how do you make sure that you're very, very productive, you're ultra productive? There is a level of consistency we need to maintain in order to make sure that we are productive enough. So in order to ensure that level of productivity, that level of output, we need to manage ourselves very well. So how do we make sure that we are generating the best possible output, and more importantly, the consistency of that output is good? Because you would have noticed that 2 days or 3 days you studied well, you read, you've done, you've generated a good output at office, and your concentration level is high, and then that after 2 or 3 or 4 days probably it dips down, and then it is down for another few days. That consistency is one of the most important things, because just imagine if you're consistent throughout the year, your productivity is going to be double. Just think about it, the best productive days that you have. If you have the same days all throughout the year, you're going to be ultra productive. I know there is a lot being said and done and everything about productivity, but you have to start thinking from your own perspective. So I will give you an idea about the 4 states of energy that we have, and how do we how I can just tell you how do I evaluate myself with respect to these energy levels, and then you can evaluate for yourself as to what improvement you need to do in order to make sure that you're consistently very, very, very productive. So hear me out, and now from this point, if you want, you can just take a pen and paper and take notes actually. So the first one is your physical energy. So when you're looking at physical energy, it's again it's all documented. It's all facts by psychologists and everything. The amount of research they've done, and again, I read thousands of articles, and then I would probably make a reach out to you guys as once I'm very, very sure about what I'm talking about. So the first one is your physical energy. So obviously this is something where I've been probably falling short. So one is, when you're looking at physical energy, if your physical energy is going to be very, very good, if you're going to be maintaining that well, you're going to be very, very output, you're going to be very, very productive. So where does your physical energy come from? One is going to be your sleep. So as adults between the age of 20 and 50 or 55 or so, again, I'll refer to Happiness Express and I'll get back to you on that exactly, but it is going to be 7.5 hours for us, our age, and we should be sleeping in multiples of 1.5 hours. So try to sleep for 6 hours or 7.5 hours or 9 hours. But again, I'm not sure about, no, actually I'm sure, but try to stick to 7.5 hours. That is the optimal time, because 6 hours is going to be a little deficit, 9 hours is going to be a little excess. So it's generally between 7 to 8 hours that you're supposed to sleep. 7.5 hours is the perfect time you're supposed to be sleeping. So are you sleeping well? Again, because of the kind of the late nights and all that we do, it becomes at times difficult. Your sleep pattern becomes erratic, and your productivity goes down. That is the reason why, when you read your fables and everything, we've been told that you have to sleep on time, you have to get up on time, you should not be doing late nighters and all. That is not because of, as much as I'm reading, I'm realizing most of the rules and early to bed, early to rise keeps a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. When you hear these things have a lot of scientific logic, which I now realize the more I read, I'm getting all the science behind, all the logic behind all these things. So one is your sleep. You have to be getting up at the same time, irrespective of the time you sleep at, and your sleep needs to be consistent and regular. The second one is with respect to your food. The food needs to be healthy. So that is somewhere, I'm a foodie, and I'm kind of not doing well in this term. And even with respect to sleep, particularly the weekends, at times, something comes up. I do get up at the same time regularly. I do get up in the morning at a decent hour, 6 or before 6 for sure. But the sleeping time at times, not for social obligations as such, but maybe generally because of work, or because maybe I just want to read a little more or something, so I end up stretching that part. And the fitness and the exercise, you have hormones that help you boost your energy throughout the day. That is another place where I'm lacking right now, because I start working just the moment I get up. I just freshen up and I start working. So that is something which I need to work on. So you guys decide, where is your physical energy dipping? So what is it that you're doing incorrectly? The sleep and food is something which I can immediately fix, and fitness is something I'm trying to. So you evaluate as to where you are falling short. So physical energy needs to be very, very high. The second one is your emotional energy. So with respect to emotional energy, one of the most important things which personally, if I would say, see and evaluate, I have come a very long way in terms of making this very, very good or positive in with respect to myself. So emotional energy is something where I see a good number of students having a lot of problem nowadays. So that is something where you're having maybe a little feeling of jealousy, maybe you're having a little feeling of that you're probably not very fortunate, and these are the kind of things that these are the kind of feelings that is going to be draining you emotionally. So you should be having empathy. You need to have that self-confidence, that self-worth. You cannot compare your life with others. You have to be comparing your life with yourself. Am I better than the last year, last month, last week? Am I more productive? Am I more competent? Have I learned something? Am I more knowledgeable? Am I emotionally getting more competent? Have I started making myself as an improving upon myself in terms of the feelings that I have? You should be happy when someone else is doing good. You should be happy when you're doing good. You should be able to, not crib about things. You should let go of things that you can't change. For example, one of the things that I'm trying to do probably would be at times a couple of students, say for example, if they misbehave, that used to affect me a lot, because I am doing everything possible on my part. At least as much as I can, I'm doing that. So it used to affect me a lot. But now, out of, let's say, 100 or 1,000, there will be one issue that I'll have to probably, there will be one issue cropping up. There will be one student misbehaving probably. So I cannot let that impact me, because if that impacts me, I'm going to be less productive for my 999 other kids. So I need to do better on that ground as well, on that aspect as well. So and at the same time, there are times when some student is feeling low or something and reaches out to me. I have that level of empathy, and I cannot feel, if I start feeling demotivated because of that, or I start feeling sorry, then I'm not going to be able to help that kid. So what I'm supposed to be doing is boosting their energy. Everybody's got issues in life. You need to learn from it. It's good, because we'll be learning, we'll become stronger. So when I look back, about a few things that did not work well in my career or in my personal life, in that case today I feel that I'm so strong in terms of, because of so and so happening, I'm so competent today because of that. I'm not taking those things lightly, because I learned and earned it the very, very hard way. So it's helping me in that. So in terms of your emotional energy, one of the most important energies that you have to manage if you want to really be productive, and if you really want to do, you want to excel, you want to move forward at a faster pace, that consistency part is going to be hampered by your emotional issues. So you cannot be moody. I used to be an exceptionally moody person, but today I've worked really hard upon it, and nobody can really irritate me very easily. Although a few issues happen, and I'm trying to tackle that. So if it was at a scale of, let's say, 100 earlier, out of 100 I used to be irritated by 80 things. Today it has come down to 10, and really it has. This is one thing that I've improved upon, I know. And again, not boasting about it, because there are a lot of other things that I have not improved upon. So this 10 is now supposed to go down to 2. So I need to keep on consistently evaluating myself whether that 10 has become 2 or not. So your self-confidence has to be there. So the moment you're competent, you're knowledgeable, you're educated, you're educated not just in terms of degree, in terms of knowing from mistakes, or practically, technically, experience-wise and everything, you're automatically going to feel very, very high on your emotional energy level. So emotional competence, I've been continuously talking about it in class, is going to be very, very important. The third level of energy comes down to your mental energy. So I know emotional, mental will be a little overlapping, but mental energy is in terms of positive thinking. Meditation is important to do that. For emotional energy, what you should do is, whenever you're having any problems or anything, write down. Because the problem with human brain is that we keep on thinking about 5 things in 500 ways, and wreck our brains on that. What you're supposed to be doing is write down, because the moment you write down one thing once, you stop thinking about it. And the moment you write that, you start thinking of a solution. Okay, this is a problem. Okay, I'm moody, so what do I do? Okay, so before entering the class, I'll probably listen to a couple of songs, and I'll then enter the class if needed. Or I'll meditate for 2 minutes in the car while going to the class. So so you have to come up with solutions in order to improve your EQ. For EQ, write. It's very important. So the third one is your mental well-being. So with respect to mental well-being, what we do is, one, you have to be positive, as I told you, in terms of and meditation is going to be helping you to be more creative, to widen your perspective, to think from a larger point of view. Reading is going to be improving your mental well-being, reading the right stuff and following the right people, because that is going to shape your mentality. So when I read what a Ray Dalio sir is writing, or what an Adam Grant is writing, or with all due unbiased approach, the religious reading that I do, in terms of from a very non praying or religion point of view, but from a life lesson point of view. For example, I do read the Gita, and that does give me a lot of peace in terms of shaping my mentality, or not mentality, but shaping my mental well-being, my mental frame of mind, my way of thoughts. So you are going to be the sum total of the people you follow, the people you surround yourself with, and the books you read. So be very, very careful in terms of surrounding yourself with negative people who pull you down, people who say that no, this is not possible, or why do you want to spoil your life, why do you want to work so hard, or you don't have a nightlife. I don't want a nightlife. I'm having an amazing day life. I don't need a nightlife to compensate for that. So you'll have to think about your mental well-being. That is your third energy. The fourth energy is your spiritual energy. So spiritual energy, just the way you have a very cluttered desk, you're going to be unorganized and you'll not be very productive. Similarly, if you're very cluttered in your mind, on your inside, your output is not going to be good. A happy person is going to be extremely, extremely productive and do very, very well. I've seen that in my office as well. Those who are happy in office, their error rate is very low, their productivity and output is very, very high. So as long as you're honest, if you're having that level of integrity, if you have that feeling of respect for yourself, your self-respect increases. So with these qualities, you're feeling very pure and very good about yourself. When all these 4 energies are in a good proportion and you're working on these, your output is automatically going to be very, very high. Your management is going to improve significantly. Your ability to multitask, not multitask as in 5 things at the same time, but to be able to manage multiple things, your multiple areas of life, personal life, professional, education, learning, etc., is going to improve significantly. So these are the 4 energies. I have honestly written down the 4 energies, and what are the things I need to work on. You need to do the same thing as well for yourself. And it is not a one-day job. It is a consistent process, because even after reading so much on productivity and all, I obviously do not know anything. So I have to consistently read, consistently improve upon myself throughout my life. So I hope this helps you all. Write down these 4 energies, see what are the things you need to do, see what are the things you're making a mistake with. Consistency is the key. So your discipline, again, that discipline is going to be impacting your mental health. If your discipline is very, very high, your mental health automatically is going to improve. You do not think about useless choices or useless things to decide about, what am I going to wear or what am I going to do today. If you have a disciplined life, you can actually make choices where choices matter instead of what am I going to wear. That choice is irrelevant. That is not something that is going to be impacting you as such. You're understanding the idea. So think about it. So think about these four pieces, the four kinds of energy, and what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And I hope this helps. And you have to consistently be at it. It's not going to happen automatically. Reading or listening to me, reading a productivity-based book is not going to help you at all unless you implement it. So you have to write down things. You have to consistently be repeating these things unless it becomes a habit and then a lifestyle. You have to make these things your lifestyle. So yeah, all the best. Have a very, very good day ahead, and be the best version of yourself. Keep investing in yourself.